Uh, yeah, we
If
totally
that's your
could. We
secret
actually
sauce, you can just say, hey, I don't want to talk about it.
no. I mean, it's we actually use Tiled right now to as a level editor. So it all exports as JSON. So it'd be really easy for us to set up something like a web service to control that and to distribute levels. Um, it's a good idea. I mean, it's definitely like another app, and like we'd have to build a level editor app, right?
Yeah, no, absolutely understand there's a challenge there. I'm just raising the idea, so as if you didn't have enough on your plate.
Yeah, no, actually, it's something that makes a lot more sense if you have an advertising, monetization model as opposed to a level pack monetization model, right?
Yes.
So it would definitely work a lot better in the direction we're headed. But we're also doing some things that could be very interesting in terms of the level,
Okay.
question.
Don't share if you're not ready, though.
Not ready.
I understand the urge to do so, so I'm helping you not. Don't do it.
Thank you.
What does your level design process look like?
So usually what happens is we come up with mechanics that we're going to have in the game, and we sort of distribute them by world, and usually we have a focus. So in our game, the first world is a world that easily will teach you about the logic behind the game, and so there's not a whole lot of things that really demand action and timing from you. Like you won't have to jump off of things that are breaking in midair and all of that. The second world is that. The second world is the action component coming in strong. So we have a lot of things that, there's a plank that breaks when you step on it. There's dynamite that explodes in a chain reaction. A lot of things that force you to act even when maybe you're not ready because you haven't thought it through, right? You have to think on the fly. The third world goes back a bit to the logic style, and then the fourth world goes 100, really big into the action and makes it really tough. There's a lot of things that kill you. So we start out that way. We sort of plot out the game design at a high level, and then in the level design itself, we sort of every level ideally should have like a personality. Like we don't name them, but they should have names, and the name should be interesting because it's doing something different. So there's levels, where you learn about ice, and ice will cause you to slip and slide. You make one move, and it'll take you to the end of the ice path. And so you learn about that, and then you do the logic, and then we put like an enemy on the ice, and he slides as well. And so all of a sudden it turns into like a chase where you have to keep moving fast because now there's an enemy that's just doing his thing, but he's doing it on ice, and it's causing him to slip and naturally chase after you. And so every level has like a purpose and has an idea behind it, and then we just try to build all the puzzles around that to keep a certain level of consistency.
Is it all kind of based around an idea of a storyline, or are you just sort of just coming up with these ideas and want to be able to put them together?
I think the idea is we just come up with anything that could be fun and would work well as far as mechanically in the game, and then we kind of wrap a really light, exposition to each of the mechanics. We were thinking about doing heavier story earlier on in the project, but we found that it's a casual game, so let's just do enough to make the characters approachable and to make them fun, and then the rest is going to be just hints and you get to imagine the rest.
I don't know if you guys watch VGA High School. You know what I'm talking about?
No. No.
Well, it's on YouTube, but it's also on Netflix, and there's it's Video Game High School, and everybody goes there to learn how to be expert video game players and all this other stuff. And anyway, so in one of the episodes in season 3, they have to go on this quest to get the sword for a friend for this guy's friend because he needs it so that one of the school candidates for class president or whatever can win their competition. Anyway, they're in the quest, so they're actually like in game, which is the way they present it is kind of fun because they're all dressed up and going through the quest. And at some point, there's one of the characters, the in-game character, who's kind of like giving you the quest dialogue, all the here's what you need to know in order to do the quest, and before you go, blah blah. And one of the main characters is like skip, skippity skip, skip. I mean, he's like, there's a point where you're right. You're like, you don't want to be that involved in the game. You just want to play it.
Yeah, exactly. And you got to make that easy. For example, we observed a lot of people. If you're in a level that has a tutorial, There's a little dog. He's the character's companion, and he sort of explains everything to you. So you run into him, and he'll explain, and there's a really brief dialogue. And then, people would go up on ahead, and then they would die, or they would miss a chest or something, and they would hit retry, and then you'd have to go through the dialogue again. So we saw people like spamming, oh, let's get through this. Come on, I've seen this already. And so like one of the little things is every time you hit retry, if you've already talked to the dog, then he won't be there when you hit retry. But obviously he'll be there if you leave the level and come back, just in case someone else is playing or whatever the case is.
That's good stuff.
That's a good idea. You said something that caught my attention. You said we saw people spamming. So you must be using Flurry or something to track analytics?
Yeah, we are using Flurry, but we actually didn't track that there. We noticed when we went to it's called Brazil Game Show. It's almost like an E3 for Brazil.
Playtesting?
Yeah, so it's huge. There was like 250,000 people in this Brazil Game Show, and we managed to get a little booth set up in the corner. And it was like, it was a tiny little space, but at least we got people coming by, and we just watch everybody play. And it was quite fun, actually, because some parents would bring their kid, and the kid would immediately grab an iPad and start playing, and then we'd hand one to the mom and one to the dad and be like, you guys try too, we want to watch everybody play. So
it's a family thing. That's a good idea. But I want to re-point out what you said there, because that's one of the challenges I've had, is you want to give somebody a tutorial, you want to teach them, but at the same time you don't want to keep spamming them with the same information you just told them because they couldn't do it twice or 3 times. So that's smart.
And there's a tendency, too. We do a lot in level design to teach things, just because I think there's a tendency to treat everybody like they're stupid because you don't want to lose anybody who might not understand, even if they're the exception. But at the same time, if people don't understand, then it's your fault. So you sort of can't really gamble that. You have to make sure the game is well explained. So we did a combination. Like we have text, we have video, and then we have level design. And some of the level design is done in such a way where you're going to learn by doing. And so if there's anything you need to see and it'll kill you if you don't see it first, then we put a little video and we show you. But other than that, we try to get it in the level and just sort of use the dog to point out that there's something new that you should watch.
I want to thank you for that, by the way. Your videos inspired me to do the same thing in one of my recent product attempts, which has not yet been released. But I put little videos in there for certain failure cases.
Awesome, that's good to hear.
Yeah. For more difficult levels, do you do anything deliberate to increase the challenge? Or do you start with a solution and work backward to try to set up the level into a certain way?
Yeah, so each level you can earn up to 3 stars and then a crown. And the way that works is there's 3 chests that you have to collect for the stars. And the crown is if you've collected all the gold in the level as well. So what we end up usually doing is planning out 3 puzzles per level. And then each of the gold components is like a little, either it's a hint as to the I guess the best path you can take. Like if we want you to jump to the other side so that you're on the right side to start a puzzle, we'll put some gold in the way, and that'll naturally bring you over. So it doesn't always feel 100% forced. But what ends up happening is we usually plan 3 puzzles per level, and a lot of times we work backwards. So we'll start up with this will be a puzzle with boulders and with bats. So we set up sort of where the player has to go, how he gets the chest, and then we work backwards to plan out the paths of everything. And oftentimes there's a lot of action stuff that's just, we'd really like it if this was a challenge to kind of dash through here and do everything at the right time, and then we just play test until it works.